Caleb Williams, you guys early in the game, and we know how he could throw the ball, but he also knows when he tucks it and he runs. He literally took this ball on that touchdown, and my favorite was the ending. He literally trucked that guy into the, I mean, okay, so it's a safety, but he trucked that safety right into the end zone. We've seen Caleb throw cornerbacks to the ground, just throw them to the ground like Lendale White level stiff arms to these guys. But watching him and the night that he had, he only played a half of football. But let me tell you about that half of football he had. He was 19 of 21, 281 yards, 3 touchdowns, so 90% completion percentage, and a 250 rating, quarterback rating. Anybody, I keep hearing people about Penix is the best quarterback in the Pac-12. Shedeur Sanders, etc. But what this guy's doing in 2 quarters, 3 quarters of football, there are some great quarterbacks in the Pac-12, but can we all ever just relax a little bit and watch what he's going to do? And just like Lincoln Riley said, he's still young. Believe it or not, this guy's getting better every game. So I'm excited to see what the rest of the season had. And if you guys also miss it, my favorite play of the game was that long throw that he had to Brendan Rice. And this picture shows Brendan Rice. If we came pan back, that defender wasn't within like 20 yards of him. He blew past him and he was pulling away from the entire way. This guy's top end speed is absolutely elite. And he's like the second or third guy that's talked about in the receiving core. So Matt and I have some lovely conversations about who has the best receiving core in the country, I'm sure, later on in the year. But with Zachariah Branch emerging and along with other guys we had in our stable, I think that Caleb Williams have a lot of people to throw to.
Well, I think one point to make is that, if you look at Washington's receivers and maybe also Colorado's receivers, you might have comparable wide receiver units, but when you have Caleb Williams throwing the ball to you, he's going to throw you open. He's going to hit his target. He's going to put the ball in the right spot from a lot of different angles. Like having Caleb Williams throwing you the ball makes you a better wide receiver. And this is not to criticize Michael Penix, but it's just that Caleb Williams is playing the quarterback position as well as we've ever seen in college football. Like that should not be a controversial take. Like this guy is performing as close to perfect as is realistically possible. I mean, he might make a careless throw once in a blue moon, but like he is setting the bar extremely high. And that it means he's exceeding the others. It's not as though Penix or Bo Nix are failing or falling short. Like they're doing their jobs. They're doing what they're supposed to do at their respective schools. But Caleb Williams is setting the bar at the very top. And so, when you take that into account, that should enhance what USC's receivers, also what USC's running backs are supposed to do. Stanford, on a lot of occasions, you saw those defensive ends crashing down the outside because they have to get to Caleb Williams, and they'd hand the ball off up the middle on a delay handoff, would get good yards, would just take advantage of the upfield penetration from the edges from the Stanford defense, and you run into the middle gaps. That was a very effective play, and Lincoln Riley can just kind of toy with that. Like whenever he sees the ends crashing down, trying to get to Caleb Williams, you can just do a handoff in the tackle box and get great results and use your run game. And then of course defenses are going to adjust to try to stuff the run in the tackle box. And then you just have Caleb Williams throwing over the top or throwing a quick pass, and like just endless options for this USC offense.
Tim and I were in a stream a couple of nights ago, and the chat was throwing us all sorts of quarterbacks. And again, nothing against any of them. There are great quarterbacks across the country, but they're throwing us Drake May and J.J. McCarthy and all sorts of nonsense. And it's just not an argument right now. It is not an argument. He is the best quarterback in college football. As Matt has just stated, arguably the best we've ever seen. And with Notre Dame most likely being the first competitive game, I go back to the game that he played at the Coliseum against the Irish last year. And that is one of the games where it's been few times that I've seen that good of a defense with that many athletes get as frustrated as they were because they could just not handle him. They couldn't hem him in. They couldn't figure it out. He knows when to back up. He knows when to sprint. He knows when to sidestep it. It's just this uncanny instinct to use his arm and his athleticism, but also put together with the just, I guess, the instincts to know what to do, when to do it, and it's always the right slide step to the right or to the left, or when to take off, or when. It's just in there were so many times during that game when Notre Dame did everything they possibly could do, and he's still finding somebody downfield like 8 seconds after the snap because nobody can catch him, nobody can get him, and he's firing a 22-yard pass downfield for a completion on 3rd and 13.
And Caleb has, Caleb has a Heisman reel every single game. I mean, just in this game, he did a Mahomes like sidearm throw. He's done a couple times in his career, just around a guy. Instead of trying to throw over top, which might have been bad down, he throws the side of him. That throw that I show you with Rice sprinting down the field, just on the money, in stride, perfect throw. And then my favorite pass of the entire game. People want to talk about his running and everything else, and you're right. He has that like sixth sense, spidey sense that he can move around the pocket like he used to. But his ability to find guys in the back of the end zone, or the beginning again against Nevada, where he rolled out, he's jumping out of bounds, and he finds perfect touchdown the sideline that first drive, or finding Singer in the back, going through all his progressions, rolling, taking time, and then just throwing a dart right to Singer. You know, his arm talent, you know, is off the charts, better than any of these guys out there as well. I hear the JJ. Thank you so much, Brian, for your super chat. JJ is a great quarterback. I'm going to tell you, even if I wasn't wearing Cardinal gold, I think most people are going to say that JJ is very good. He may get better, but he is not on the same level as Caleb Williams. I'm sorry. I appreciate the super chat. There's no way I could agree with that.
I think the thing we need to keep in mind about Caleb Williams, and you know, just taking everything that Mark and Tim have just said, the only thing for me to add is that, you know, how few really big mistakes he makes with all that athleticism, with all that arm talent, you know, with his running ability and his elusiveness, and yet he doesn't make the crippling mistake. Like, you know, we see this with swashbuckling riverboat gambler type quarterbacks. I mean, like a good example is Josh Allen. Like Josh Allen, boy, he makes tons of spectacular plays, but he also makes the big blunders. Like I saw him get compared a lot to Brett Favre tonight in the first half of that Jets game with the 2 interceptions that he did throw. Caleb Williams avoids those negative plays. He avoids those interceptions. They are very, very few and far between. The fact that he's making these explosive popcorn highlight reel plays with so few mistakes, that's the thing to really remember about Caleb Williams.